In 1899, electric vehicles outsold gasoline cars in America. They were cleaner, quieter, and more reliable. No hand cranking, no choking exhaust, no mechanical breakdowns. The future of transportation was electric, and everyone knew it. By 1920, electric vehicles had completely disappeared from American roads. Not because they stopped working, not because gasoline cars became better, but because John D. Rockefeller and the oil cartel systematically destroyed them. This isn't a story about technological progress or market competition. This is a story about the most sophisticated suppression operation in human history. For over 100 years, the same families and corporations that control oil have systematically destroyed every technology that threatens their monopoly. Free energy devices, hydrogen, fuel cells, advanced battery systems, zero-point energy, water-powered engines. Each technology could have liberated humanity from fossil fuel dependence decades ago. Each technology was acquired, suppressed, or destroyed by the oil cartel, and each suppression made the same families trillions richer while keeping humanity enslaved to petroleum. The pattern isn't hidden. It's documented in patents, corporate records, and government files. But it's been so systematically covered up that most people believe oil dependence is natural and inevitable. It's not. It's engineered. And the engineering is about to be exposed. Let me show you how a small group of families gained control over humanity's energy supply. How they've suppressed every alternative for over a century. And why they're now pushing electric vehicles and green energy, not to save the planet, but to maintain their control as oil reserves diminish. This is the story of the greatest crime against human progress ever committed. And it's still happening right now. The 801 New York City. The streets are filled with electric vehicles. Taxis, delivery trucks, personal cars. Nearly 40% of all vehicles in America are electric. The New York Times calls them the coming thing. Electric vehicles dominate because they solve every problem gasoline cars have. Gasoline engines require hand cranking to start, often breaking arms when the crank kicks back. Electric cars start instantly with the push of a button. Gasoline engines produce choking exhaust and deafening noise. Electric cars are silent and clean. Gasoline engines break down constantly, requiring mechanical knowledge to repair. Electric cars are mechanically simple with few moving parts. The wealthy prefer electric cars. Thomas Edison drives one. Henry Ford's wife drives one. William McKinley is shot while riding in an electric car. But electric vehicles have one fatal flaw from the perspective of certain powerful interests. They threaten the oil industry before it can establish dominance. In 1900, oil is still primarily used for kerosene lamps. Gasoline is a waste product that oil refineries literally give away or dump in rivers. John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil monopoly makes money from kerosene, not gasoline. But Rockefeller sees what electric vehicles could mean for his empire. If transportation goes electric, demand for oil will remain limited to kerosene and industrial uses. As Edison's electric lighting replaces kerosene lamps, oil demand could actually decline. This represents an existential threat to the oil monopoly Rockefeller is building. So he develops a strategy to eliminate electric vehicles and force America onto gasoline. The strategy has three components: control the fuel supply, control the infrastructure, and control the technology. First, fuel supply. Electric vehicles depend on electricity, which in 1900 is generated by hundreds of small, independent power companies. Rockefeller begins acquiring electric utilities, consolidating them under his control. By owning the electricity supply, he can control the cost and availability of electric vehicle fuel. Second, infrastructure. Electric vehicles need charging stations. which in 1900 are mostly located in wealthy urban areas. Rockefeller prevents the expansion of charging infrastructure to rural areas by lobbying against electrical grid expansion and funding opposition to rural electrification projects. Third, technology. This is where the suppression begins in earnest. The Tesla suppression. 1900 to 1920, Nikola Tesla is working on wireless power transmission that could make centralized power generation obsolete. His experiments at Colorado Springs demonstrate that electrical energy can be transmitted through the earth itself without wires. If perfected, Tesla's wireless power could make electric vehicles completely independent of centralized power systems. Cars could receive power anywhere on Earth without batteries or charging stations. This terrifies not just Rockefeller, but the entire financial establishment. J.P. Morgan, who has been funding Tesla's research, realizes that free wireless energy would make it impossible to meter and monetize electricity consumption. In 1906, Morgan withdraws funding from Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower project. Tesla's wireless power research is terminated. His laboratory is destroyed. His patents are seized. But Tesla's suppression is only the beginning. Thomas Edison, driving an electric car himself, begins promoting gasoline engines. Because General Electric, the company Edison founded, has contracts with Rockefeller to provide electrical components for oil refineries and gasoline-powered industrial equipment. Edison's promotion of gasoline cars isn't based on technical merit. It's based on business relationships with oil interests. Henry Ford initially builds electric vehicles and considers them superior to gasoline cars. But Ford's assembly line manufacturing requires massive capital investment that only banks can provide. The same banks that have financial relationships with Rockefeller's oil empire. Ford's access to capital becomes conditional on producing gasoline-powered vehicles that will create demand for Rockefeller's gasoline. By 1920, the coordinated suppression has succeeded. Electric vehicle manufacturers are bankrupt. Charging infrastructure has been dismantled. Battery technology development has stopped. America has been forced onto gasoline. And Rockefeller's oil empire has the monopoly it needs to dominate the 20th century. The Standard Oil strategy, 1920 to 1940, with electric vehicles eliminated. Rockefeller's Standard Oil begins the systematic suppression of every alternative energy technology. The goal isn't just to maintain oil dominance, but to prevent any technology from threatening oil dependence. Alcohol fuel is the first target. Henry Ford designs his Model T to run on ethanol, which farmers can produce from crops. This threatens oil sales and creates energy independence for rural communities. Standard Oil lobbies for prohibition, which bans alcohol production and makes ethanol fuel illegal. The Prohibition Amendment passes in 1920, eliminating alcohol fuel as a gasoline alternative. But the oil cartel doesn't stop with alcohol. They begin acquiring patents for alternative energy technologies specifically to suppress them. Internal combustion engine improvements that would dramatically increase fuel efficiency are patented and buried. Carburetor designs that could achieve 100 miles per gallon are bought by oil companies and never produced. Battery technology patents that could enable long-range electric vehicles are acquired and suppressed. Any inventor who develops superior battery technology receives offers to buy their patents at prices they can't refuse. When inventors refuse to sell, other methods are employed. Laboratories burn down. Research is stolen. Inventors receive visits from men who explain why selling their patents would be healthier for their families. The pattern becomes systematic. Acquire the technology, classify it as proprietary, file it away. Ensure it never reaches the market. By 1940, Standard Oil and its affiliated companies own thousands of patents for technologies that could reduce or eliminate oil dependence. None of them are ever developed for commercial use. The hydrogen suppression, 1970 to 2000. By 1970, oil companies face a new challenge. Environmental awareness is growing. Air pollution from gasoline engines is becoming politically unacceptable. The public is demanding cleaner alternatives. Hydrogen fuel offers a perfect solution. Hydrogen burns clean, producing only water vapor. It can be produced from water using electricity or natural processes. It could replace gasoline without requiring new engine designs. But hydrogen threatens oil profits more completely than electric vehicles ever did. Hydrogen can be produced locally from water, making centralized fuel production obsolete. Anyone with electricity and water could produce their own vehicle fuel. So the oil cartel deploys the same suppression strategies they perfected with electric vehicles. First, they acquire hydrogen technology companies. General Motors buys the patents for advanced hydrogen fuel cells from inventor William Grove's successors. Exxon purchases hydrogen production patents. Shell acquires hydrogen storage technologies. Second, they control research funding. Oil companies begin funding university research into hydrogen technology, not to develop it, but to control its development. Research grants come with conditions that give oil companies ownership of any discoveries. Third, they spread disinformation about hydrogen safety. Oil industry-funded studies claim hydrogen is explosive and dangerous, despite hydrogen being safer than gasoline in most applications. The suppression is so successful that by 2000, most Americans believe hydrogen fuel is futuristic and impractical, despite the technology being mature and ready for deployment. The electric vehicle resurrection and destruction, 1990 to 2006. In the 1990s, California mandates that automakers produce zero-emission vehicles. This forces the oil cartel to confront electric vehicles again. General Motors develops the EV1, the first modern electric vehicle. It's technologically advanced, with a 140-mile range and performance that exceeds most gasoline cars. Customers love it. Waiting lists are months long. But the EV1 is never sold to consumers. It's only available through leases that prevent ownership. When California's zero-emission mandate is repealed under oil industry pressure, GM recalls every EV1 and destroys them. The destruction is systematic and public. Over 1,000 EV1s are crushed in Arizona junkyards while their drivers protest. GM refuses to sell the vehicles to customers who want to buy them. This isn't about profitability. The EV1 program costs GM millions to terminate. The destruction is about maintaining oil dependence. Toyotas are AV for EV, and Honda's EV Plus meet the same fate, recalled and destroyed when the zero-emission mandate ends. But the oil cartel makes a critical error. They allow Tesla Motors to begin producing electric vehicles in 2008, the Tesla disruption to 008-2020. Elon Musk's Tesla represents the first successful challenge to oil cartel suppression since the 1920s. But Tesla succeeds only because Musk has independent wealth that makes him difficult to acquire or intimidate. The oil cartel tries every strategy that worked before. They fund studies claiming electric vehicles are more polluting than gasoline cars due to electricity generation. The studies use dishonest methodology, but they influence public opinion. They lobby against electric vehicle tax incentives while maintaining subsidies for oil companies. They spread disinformation about battery fires, range limitations, and charging infrastructure problems. They pressure automakers not to develop competing electric vehicles. GM, Ford, and Chrysler resist electric vehicle development for years despite having the technology. But Tesla's success creates market demand that becomes impossible to suppress. By 2020, Tesla is the world's most valuable automaker despite producing fewer cars than established manufacturers. The oil cartel realizes suppression is no longer possible, so they adapt their strategy. The green energy deception, 2020 present, facing inevitable transition away from oil. The energy cartel develops a new strategy. Instead of suppressing alternative energy, they'll control it. The same families and corporations that built oil empires are now building green energy empires. But the new system is designed to maintain centralized control and artificial scarcity. Electric vehicles require batteries. The materials for batteries: lithium, cobalt. Rare earth metals are controlled by the same financial networks that controlled oil. Mining companies extracting battery materials are owned by the same investment firms that own oil companies. Electric vehicles require charging infrastructure. The charging networks are owned by oil companies rebranding as energy companies. Shell, BP, and Exxon are building charging stations that will control electric vehicle fuel just as they controlled gasoline. Electric vehicles require electricity. The renewable energy systems generating that electricity are owned by the same utilities and investment firms that profited from oil. The electricity will be metered, controlled, and priced to maintain profit margins similar to gasoline. But the most sophisticated part of the new strategy is suppressing the technologies that could make energy truly free and decentralized. The suppressed technologies, what they don't want you to know. Over the past 100 years, hundreds of inventors have developed technologies that could provide abundant, cheap, or free energy. Every one has been suppressed, acquired, or destroyed. Water-powered engines that split hydrogen from oxygen in real time, using water as fuel. Stanley Meyer developed such a system in the 1990s. He was offered billions to sell his patents. When he refused, he died suddenly of poisoning. His patents were acquired by energy companies and buried. Zero-point energy devices that extract power from quantum field fluctuations. Multiple inventors have demonstrated working prototypes. All have been classified as national security threats or acquired by defense contractors. Advanced battery technologies that could store massive amounts of energy in small packages. E-Store claimed to develop batteries with 10 times the capacity of lithium-ion. The company was acquired and the technology disappeared. Thorium, nuclear reactors that could provide safe, clean, abundant energy with fuel so common it's currently a waste product. Thorium research was terminated in the 1970s because thorium can't be weaponized and would make uranium obsolete. Cold fusion processes that could provide unlimited energy from simple materials. Despite successful replication by hundreds of scientists, cold fusion research is systematically defunded and ridiculed. Each technology represents a threat to energy scarcity and centralized control. Each suppression maintains artificial dependence on controlled energy sources. The current suppression, electric vehicle limitations current. Electric vehicles are deliberately limited to maintain control over transportation energy. The limitations aren't technological, they're imposed. Battery capacity is artificially restricted. Batteries capable of 1,000-mile range exist but aren't commercially available. Tesla's 4,680 battery cells could provide much longer range but are limited by software. Charging speed is artificially limited. Ultra-fast charging technology exists but is undeployed because it would make electric vehicles too convenient and reduce charging. Infrastructure profits. Vehicle-to-grid technology that could make electric vehicles energy sources as well as consumers is suppressed because it would threaten utility. Company control over electricity distribution. Wireless charging technology that could power vehicles while driving is suppressed because it would eliminate range anxiety and reduce battery size requirements. The goal isn't to replace oil with better technology. The goal is to replace oil with control technology that maintains artificial scarcity and centralized profit extraction. The investment network who controls energy now. The same financial networks that controlled oil now control alternative energy. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, the three largest asset managers, own controlling stakes in oil companies, renewable energy companies, electric vehicle manufacturers, and battery material suppliers. They profit from oil's decline and alternatives rise because they own both sides of the transition. The transition doesn't threaten their control, it reinforces it. ExxonMobil invests billions in lithium mining while divesting from oil exploration. Shell builds charging networks while reducing refinery capacity. BP rebrands beyond petroleum while acquiring renewable energy assets. The energy transition is managed by the same interests that created energy dependence. The goal isn't liberation from energy scarcity, but maintenance of energy control. The climate change strategy. Climate change narratives serve the same function that air pollution concerns served in the 1970s, justifying increased control over energy systems. The same oil companies that suppressed climate science for decades now fund climate activism that demands rapid transition to renewable energy systems they own. The same financial networks that profited from oil extraction now profit from carbon credit trading and renewable energy investment. Climate policies create artificial scarcity through carbon restrictions while channeling investment toward technologies controlled by the same interests that controlled oil. The climate narrative isn't about saving the planet. It's about justifying the next phase of energy control. The real solution: decentralized energy independence. True energy independence requires technologies that can't be controlled, metered, or monopolized. These technologies exist but remain suppressed. Personal energy devices that individuals can own and operate independently. Household-scale power generation that eliminates dependence on electrical grids. Transportation systems that don't require centralized fuel production or distribution. The technology for complete energy independence has existed for decades. What's lacking isn't innovation, but liberation from the interests that profit from artificial scarcity. The historical pattern, suppression and control. Every major energy transition has followed the same pattern. Existing energy interests suppress alternatives until suppression becomes impossible. Then acquire and control the alternatives to maintain their dominance. Coal interests suppressed oil until oil became inevitable, then integrated coal and oil operations. Oil interests suppressed nuclear until nuclear became inevitable, then acquired nuclear assets. Now oil interests are suppressing and controlling renewable energy to ensure the transition maintains their power structure. The pattern isn't accidental, it's strategic. And it's been running for over 150 years. Breaking the pattern: what you need to know. Understanding energy suppression is the first step toward energy independence. The second step is recognizing that current green energy solutions are designed to maintain control rather than provide liberation. True energy independence requires supporting technologies and policies that decentralize energy production and eliminate artificial scarcity. Local energy generation, personal energy storage, open source energy technologies that can't be patented and suppressed. The energy cartel maintains power through information control as much as technology suppression. They want you to believe energy scarcity is natural and that centralized systems are necessary. Neither is true. Energy abundance is achievable with existing technology. Decentralized energy systems are more efficient than centralized ones. The only thing maintaining energy dependence is the suppression of solutions that already exist. The Tesla suppression worked for 100 years. The hydrogen suppression continues today. The renewable energy deception is their latest strategy. But the pattern is visible now. The suppression is documented. The alternatives are known. For the first time in a century, energy independence is possible if enough people understand what they're fighting against. The oil age didn't happen naturally. It was engineered by interests that suppressed better alternatives. The green energy age is being engineered by the same interests using the same strategies. Real energy independence requires rejecting both oil dependence and green energy dependence in favor of technologies that can't be controlled or monopolized. The technology exists. The question is whether humanity will accept another century of artificial scarcity or demand the abundance that has always been possible. The choice is ours. But we have to make it soon, before the new energy control system becomes as entrenched as the oil system it's replacing. The suppression continues. But now you know what's being suppressed and why.